Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Got a story here sent in by almost everybody. Man shocked by $1 million city fine for past owners' violations. This comes to us out of Florida. The editorial staff of Miami Daily.life ran it, but it was widely reported, including some local TV stations. A homeowner was taken aback after receiving a city notice stating he owed a hefty $1 million fine for code violations committed by the previous owner of the foreclosed property. So the guy buys the property, it had gone through foreclosure, he's got the property, and the city shows up and goes, oh, by the way, you owe us $1 million. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the house is attached to these fines for the previous owner. So the man is a skilled craftsman. He invested in a foreclosed home 10 years ago and turned it into a reflection of his love for the 1970s. However, he was blindsided when he received a letter from the city of Oakland Park claiming he owed them over $1 million for code violations from before his purchase. And it says there are minor code violations. So apparently there's a lot of them, and they just stacked up. According to the city, the fines stemmed from issues like overgrown weeds and trash in the carport, and it added up to $1,097,400 in penalties. Now, this came as a surprise to the guy who bought the property because he was assured by the title company at the time of the purchase that no liens or fines were attached to the property. Keep in mind that there are certain types of things that can get attached to a property which will survive transfer from one person to another. And so, for instance, in some places, a water bill, if it's being provided by the municipality, then if the house gets sold and the water bill is not paid, that's one of those things. And so if you've ever bought or sold property, you know this, that that's part of what the title company is looking at to find out if there's anything that could possibly follow this property through the process. So he learned that the city had recently stumbled upon the file while clearing out old records. Despite his protests about the fine being excessive, he was advised to negotiate with a collection agency for a settlement. He expressed his frustration, noting that fixing such issues is beyond his expertise as a car and home restorer. So he's saying, look, I can fix a house. I don't negotiate settlements. But besides that, there's a question here that should have been addressed earlier. And that is when the city finds out that we got this file that we lost. We lost this file. We've now found the file. The file says this house owes us $1 million, but it's changed owners. Guess what? I have a sneaky feeling if you look into the laws of Florida, you're going to discover that the only way for them to protect their interest is to record it against the property while the person who owes the money is there. Otherwise, they have no incentive to even bother filing it. In fact, if the next owner's got more money, they're better off waiting. So the law can't allow that. So the legality of the claim was questioned, and the man reached out to legal experts for advice. And an attorney clarified that while governmental bodies are not required to inform new property owners about existing fines, this situation was unique. The foreclosure purged existing liens or fines once he acquired the property, make the city's claim invalid. And again, like I said, the purpose of the lien is to make sure that money gets paid. But if you surprise somebody, go, by the way, we forgot to file the lien 10 years ago, the whole system would fall apart. So upon further inquiry by reporters into the matter, Oakland Park officials reviewed the case, and they confirmed that the property was not in compliance at the time of its foreclosure and that they were unaware of the foreclosure proceedings. Following the investigation, the city invalidated the lien and dismissed the $1 million fines. So the man who's a homeowner expressed immense relief, as you can imagine, and gratitude to those who advocated on his behalf, emphasizing how significantly the resolution impacted his life. With the financial burden lifted, he's able to focus again on his passion for restoring classic cars, proudly showcasing a 1960 Corvette he had recently brought back to life. Hopefully there are no liens on it. The situation highlights the importance of thorough due diligence when purchasing a property, especially one in foreclosure. Prospective buyers are advised to conduct lien searches to avoid unforeseen issues. Meanwhile, the case underscores the need for cities to accurately track and communicate active liens during property transactions. And so this guy could not have done anything better. That's the whole point of why this is unenforceable. The purpose of the lien is to see to it that the city gets paid. They attach it to the property, and they basically say that lien doesn't get removed till somebody pays us. And so if the seller sells the property to somebody else and they're on notice of the lien, well, that lien's got to get paid. And many, many transactions you'd be involved in, especially if people are putting up money and lending you money, are going to say, you've got to get the lien removed before we will lend you money to buy it, or it's got to get removed in the process of the purchase. However, in a foreclosure, it's probably a bank or somebody else who holds the title to it, right? And if they get paid off and are unaware of the liens there, they're not going to pay it. And so it's a weird situation. But somebody at City Hall here appears to have made a $1 million mistake by misplacing a file. Now, the question is whether that $1 million lien would ever have gotten paid, don't know. Because the other question I have is, if this home goes into foreclosure 10 years ago, and I'm not familiar with Oakland Park, Florida, I'm not. The question is, how much would that home be worth in foreclosure if somebody said, by the way, you got to pay $1 million to clear the title of it? Now, what am I bid? There is a good chance that it wouldn't sell. Then what happens is the city can sell it at a foreclosure auction, and if they sell it at a foreclosure auction, it might not sell for $1 million. So they may have to take a lot less on it anyway. The weird part is that they actually apparently turned this guy into collections and said, deal with the collection agency. And that's one of the things that's always bothered me, is a lot of people who have a debt that somebody owes them, they hold the debt, and the debt's no good. But they give the debt to a collection agency and go collect on that. And the person's being chased by the collection agency contacts the people who hold the debt and go, the debt's not valid. Well, deal with the collection agency. Well, the collection agency thinks the debt's good because you told them it was good. You didn't tell them it was bad, did you? And so you can't assign a bad debt to somebody and make it into a good debt. It's this bad debt's still a bad debt. And so I know guys, attorneys, who specialize in defending against debt collection actions. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people out there have debts they don't pay, and they're chased by debt collectors legitimately, and the debt collectors serve a function. I've got that, not a problem. But you hear stories about somebody who thinks somebody owes them money, and they turn that over to a collection agency, and the collection agency gets a little overzealous, shall we say, in trying to collect the debt, and they start violating laws like, I don't know, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So it's another angle altogether. But yeah, so this guy getting the notice, and remember, there's the old saying, you can't fight City Hall. Well, sometimes you can luck out, though, because here he lucked out in the sense that somebody realized, oh, we actually can't do this. The way we're doing this is wrong. And so they decided to just extinguish the debt, because otherwise the guy could have filed an action, actually filed a lawsuit, gone to court, and had a judge say, let me get this straight. The previous owner owed $1 million in fines. You forgot to put the lien on the property. And here we are 10 years later, and you're telling the new owner that he's got to pay him, despite the fact that he was not on notice of them, and there's no way he could have found out about it unless he went into your office and dug through all your lost files and figured it out. Obviously, he doesn't have to pay that money. Obviously. So the good news, he didn't have to do that. It's a happy ending. And again, once more, we got the media getting involved, shining a spotlight on something and straightening it out. So there you go. Everybody who sent it, thanks a lot. From MiamiDaily.life. Man shocked by $1 million city fine for past owner's violations, but the city has agreed to let that one slide. Questions or comments? Put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known.